Welcome to this new live stream from the London School of English. Today we will be sharing practical advice on how to increase your English vocabulary and really use it in your spoken English. For those of you who are new, the London School of English is a place where you can learn general, exam, and professional English from expert English language trainers, both in virtual group courses and in face-to-face classes. Our school is the oldest accredited English language school and the highest rated in the world by our clients on Trustpilot. So whether you have a need to improve your English to feel more confident at work, or you want to be more fluid in general life situations, for example, if you have just moved to an English-speaking country, or you've moved to London, or if you want to prepare for your IELTS exam, our school can offer tailor-made training for your needs. Every week, we hold these live stream sessions as a way for you to connect directly with our English language trainers. And this session, as any other before, is meant to be very interactive. So please use the live chat next to the video to share your comments and questions. And we will answer them in the question and answer session at the end of the live stream. And don't forget that you can always contact us about English language learning on our site, www.londonschool.com, or via email, clients@londonschool.com. Before we move to the main part of the session, let me ask you this question. What is the most difficult part of learning new English vocabulary for you personally? You can vote in a poll on our YouTube channel on the community tab, which we'll show shortly here on screen, or you can share your thoughts in the live chat with us directly. So some of the questions and some of the difficulties that people might have with, for example, learning new English vocabulary, and I'll show you the poll, and also the link where you can find it is, you understand a lot when you read or listen to the radio or watch TV, but you forget to use new words in your spoken English? Or are you confused about meaning of new words you learn? Or maybe it's find difficult pronouncing new words or spelling new words, or maybe knowing if you use new words correctly. So all of these are very valid things that we quite often see our clients and English learners have as a problem in learning English vocabulary. So do share with us in the comments. And of course, we would also be able to answer some of your questions later in the live stream. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to two of my colleagues. It's Douglas Nakaya, one of our expert English language trainers, whom you know from some of the previous live streams, and also Farine Chor, who represents our client services team and can answer any questions related to English language courses. So welcome, Douglas and Farine.
Hi, Olga.
Hi, thanks, Olga. Hello. Welcome back, everyone. You might remember me from previous videos, but if you're new here, I am Douglas, one of the trainers at the London School of English. And as always, it is a joy to be connected with so many people who share the same passion and enthusiasm for language learning. Thank you very much for your time. For the first time joining us and joining this conversation is the lovely Farine. Welcome, Farine. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us more about you?
Yes, well, thanks, Douglas. Hi, everyone. Farine here. I'm from the Client Services Department team, and I joined the London School of English 2-3 years ago. A little bit about me. So I've worked in France, Ireland, and the UK, and I have been helping many people around the world choose their language course abroad for the past 12 years. I started learning English as a kid, and basically I haven't stopped ever since. Some time ago, I focused quite a lot on vocabulary building as I was preparing to take the Cambridge Proficiency exam. So basically today's topic is a real personal interest to me. I know how challenging it is to learn, to remember, and then use new words, all the more when it's in a foreign language. But I also find it quite stimulating. It's not just about translating one word from one language to the other, but it's sometimes finding out about new concepts that don't have a word in your mother tongue. So as usual, as Olga said, we welcome all of your comments. So please don't be shy. Share your thoughts in the chat section that should be here, if I'm not mistaken. That's all for me. The floor is yours, Douglas.
All right, thank you very much, Breen. So the million-dollar question, how to increase your vocabulary fast and remember it. So in this live stream today, we'll be looking at 4 different ways to help you increase your word power, and then we'll talk about ways to retain these new words, to remember them. So without further ado, let's have a look at tip number 1. So this one is spidergrams, or a spider diagram, or spidergram. So let's think of a word, any word. Think of a word. So let's say dark, for example. So then we take the word dark and we place the word dark in the center of our spidergram. So on a piece of paper, write the word dark right in the middle of it. Yeah. Now, next step. How many other words or phrases containing the word dark do you know? Think for a minute. Think of the word dark. How many other words connected to or containing the word dark do you know? So I can think of, for example, dark chocolate, or dark horse, for instance, which describes a person who has surprising, often hidden abilities or skills. Then we can think of the dark web, also, where people can find all sorts of illegal stuff. What else? What else comes to mind when you think of dark? There's dark matter when talking about the cosmos, for example. Also, and there we go. That is spidergrams. Or what else? Dark magic for Voldemort fans or Harry Potter fans. Anyway, so right. So when you think of dark, what else comes to mind? You think of dark, light comes to mind, doesn't it? And then from there, from light, then you can think of other words related to light. So I can think of lightweight, for instance. So as in, oh, I'm such a lightweight. I can't drink more than 2 pints of beer. I'm a lightweight, for instance. Or you could say, also connected with the word light, then there's the expression light-hearted. So as in, this is a light-hearted way of making a serious point. For example, light-hearted meaning silly or not too serious. Can also think of the expression light at the end of the tunnel, meaning hope. There is light at the end of the tunnel after this pandemic. So you see how it works. From dark, we're connecting with many other words, and then you can think of the opposite of a word. So the opposite of dark, light. Also light years, for instance. So the solution to this problem is still light years away. So very, very far away, light years away. We will try and make a real-time spidergram together at the end of this video. So bear with me, don't go anywhere, and we'll do this together. You'll see it will increase your word knowledge, your word power enormously. Very well. Our second tip is this: break it down. Yeah. Second tip to increase your word power, to increase your English vocabulary, is break it down. So what do I mean? To explain what I mean by break it down, I'll share with you a personal experience learning a new word myself. So I remember once trying to learn a word in Icelandic, and I'll show you the word here in a moment. Quite scary, huh? Both the word and the volcano. But don't let it intimidate you. How would you say it? Well, it's not so easy when you look at it this way. But I remember the tour guide explained to me that the name was actually made up of 3 different words, and that helped me memorize the word. So there we go. So Eyja, meaning island, Fjalla, meaning mountain, and Jökull, meaning glacier. And then, voila, Eyja, Fjalla, Jökull. Easy. So that really helped, breaking it down really helped me to remember the word. So I was actually saying 3 words. And when you break it down, then things, it's easier to remember. We'll go back to this topic in a second. Okay, well, words, as in my example, are often made up of other smaller words or smaller parts. And once you understand that, it will be much easier to pronounce and retain new words. So in English, you want to pay attention to prefixes and suffixes. Very important when you're learning new words. Prefixes are letters we use at the start of a word to change its meaning. So for example, comfortable, uncomfortable, or regular and irregular, and respect and disrespect. So it changes the meaning. Suffixes are letters we use at the end of a word to change the part of speech. So I'll give you an example. Comfort is a noun. You add a suffix, and then you have comfortable, suffix able, comfortable, and then the word becomes an adjective. You have regular, which is an adjective, and then with a suffix, you could have a word like regularity, which is a noun. And then we have disrespect, which is a verb. And then we have disrespectful, it's an adjective, or disrespectfully, and then it becomes an adverb. So remember to break it down, find the root word, and then go from there. Okay, well, time for our next tip, which is embrace technology. Yeah, technology is on your side. So the chalk and talk days are over, and technology is the way forward. So why not use technology in your favor? So here are some apps that you might find helpful. So first one is Anki. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but Anki is a computer program. There's an app version of that as well, but a computer program that makes remembering things easy using a memorization technique. And in the same way, there's the app. So it serves the same purpose. That's the application version of the program. There's Hello Talk, which is an app that connects people interested in learning a language and culture exchange. So the app is free, and it's very simple, very easy to use. There's another one by the British Council called Sounds Right, and this one is for those people who struggle with pronunciation. So it will help you memorize words and memorize sounds of words. So very, very important if you struggle with your pronunciation. Also free. It's also a free app. And of course, there is the LSO course, or the website, our website, the London School Online, which offers a wide range of topics, including business English. So why not give that a go? So as you can see, there we go. So that's what it looks like. And this is our website. So why not give that a go? Why not try that as well? Lots of interesting stuff there, not only vocabulary, but also grammar. You can also practice other skills like reading and listening and all that. So very well. Okay, so our next tip for acquiring new language is, and this is probably the most relevant one, is try and enjoy the learning process. Try and have fun. This is so important. Listen, no matter how effective or how clever the method for acquiring vocabulary I show you here today, if it is a burden to you, if it is a drag, if you find it boring, then these methods, they are all going to crash and burn. So try and have fun, enjoy, so what's important, and what I'd like for you to take away with you today is try and find a way of learning that makes sense to you. That, try and find enjoyment in that. That's half of the job done. So when I try and think of it, people, anyone I know who's really good at languages, they all share the same quality. They all share this love, this excitement for learning. There's a little sparkle in their eyes. I mean, I don't mean to romanticize language learning, but it does indeed help when you enjoy it, when you have fun. So, say for example, if you find reading boring, that's probably because you're reading the wrong stuff. You're reading the wrong thing. So, my idea is, have you tried graphic novels? Do you know what they are? So they are so much fun to read, and the number of new words, new vocabulary you learn from them is just incredible. Well, the other thing that you might appreciate about graphic novels is the conversational tone that they have. So meaning you can apply a lot of the language you get from them in real life conversations, because they have this quality to them, this conversational quality. So allow me to show you some ideas, and these are my personal favorite ones. So let me show you this one, Persepolis. Persepolis tells the story of this little girl here and paints a portrait of daily life in Iran. Really powerful story, really intimate story. I think you'll enjoy it. My next one would be this one, The Arrow of the Future by Riyad Sattouf. Like Persepolis, this is a graphic memoir. And it is perhaps the most enjoyable graphic novel I've ever read in my entire life. Well, and then there's this one. This one was given to me as a present, and I got it from a Londoner friend, Dan. Thanks, Dan. But it's actually written by a Brazilian duo. There we go. Fabio Moon and Gabriel Bar. And so there we go. Oh, also I've got to mention, this was been said about the book a believable, grounded celebration of life with just enough magic realism. This one made me cry. Happy tears, happy tears. Well, and if you like history and a bit of gore, then there is this monster here. Quite literally, it tells the story of Jack the Ripper, no less. It's almost like a history lesson of the late Victorian era. This one is by Alan Moore. So really interesting. You learn a lot from books, from reading. Reading can be fun. If you find reading boring, it's probably because you're not reading the right stuff. So here's just some ideas. Of course, if this is not your cup of tea, then try and find something that you derive joy from. Yeah. And one more thing that I like to link with reading is some learners sometimes feel like they know the meaning of a word because they read it in a book, but they are unable to use it. They can't use the word. That is referred to passive vocabulary, meaning when you know a word, but you don't quite, it doesn't, or they don't quite roll off of your tongue. But so a simple but effective way to activate your vocabulary is by choosing maybe 4 or 5 new words that you learned from a book, say, for example, and make it a goal to try and create situations in your daily life where you can use them very well. So now let's moving away from these ideas to memorize new vocabulary. Let's understand a little bit better about the notion of short-term memory and long-term memory. Right. So our short-term memory is, in other words, the capacity to keep a small amount of information in mind in an active, readily available state for a short period of time. It has a very limited capacity. So to understand how limited our short-term memory is, let's try this. So if I show you a number, a 10-digit number, for example, would you be able to memorize it? It wouldn't be that simple. A 10-digit number, quite a long number, right? But now it might be just too much for your short-term memory to hold. But if you try and break it down into smaller bits, like you would with a telephone number, for example. So you say 3 numbers, then 3 more numbers, and 3 more numbers, for instance, that becomes much easier, doesn't it? And this is how we remember numbers, the telephone numbers, for example, or your credit card number. So it's 4, and then 4, and then 4 more, and 4 more. Well, the long-term memory is when information is stored in our minds over an extended period of time. So when information is important to us, relevant to us, then it gradually becomes a long-term memory. So that imagine a telephone number, for instance. They're often not really important to you. So chances are that we tend to forget these things, especially these days with the with iPhones or smartphones. Nobody remember. You don't need to remember these things anymore, telephone numbers anymore. So so the key here is repetition and relevance. So if you don't see the relevance of a word, say, for example, or an expression, you're less likely to remember it in the future, because there's no, why would you? There's no relevance or no importance, no real importance. So that's why it's not important. That's why you can't remember words. So writing things down and keeping track of new words is a good words and expression is a good way to help you. So to remember words, yeah. Also, it helps you because you can always go back and you can always revise these words, and that is fundamental. So keep track of the new words you learn, write them down, and then go back to them. Very well. Also very important, when you learn a new word, don't just write the word on itself, like the word alone. Try and put it in context. Come up with a sentence for it. So by doing that, you're making it much more relevant. You create a sentence, and so it becomes more relevant. So very well. Flashcards also, Giuseppe mentions flashcards, also a good way to remember words. So okay, time to try the spidergram. Shall we do that together? Okay, so can I get someone to come up with a word, any word? Please write it on the live comment section. So can I get a word? Okay, well, that's a very specific. Tanya is mentioning a word. It's a very, I can't think of any way to bounce back. No, okay, let's go with a simpler one, because from there we can expand wider. So let's take a simple word. Can I get ideas from you? Any ideas? Anyone? Just a simple word, any word, and let's take it from there. A gig. Okay. Well, okay. So let's try gig. So think of the word gig. When you think of the word gig, what comes to mind? What are other words? So let's take gig, put it in the middle, or in the center rather of let's try and do this together. So you write there, gig. Yeah. And then from there, can you think of synonyms for gig? Or anyone? So a gig is also another word for a concert. So then we can add concert. So then we have two words, and gig, concert, and then what other words are the words that come to mind when you think of a concert? Then from there, I can think of musical instruments. So I can think of, I don't know, a guitar or the drums or a microphone. So this is how we create it. This is how we create a spidergram. Yeah. So from one word that links to another word, cab, carriage. So yeah, you think of a cab. The words that could relate to that would be taxi or carriage. Yeah, I think of carriage, for example. I think also of trains, for example, a train or the tube. So that's it. That's how we create spidergrams. Well, Olga, Perrine, is there anything else you would like to add or comment on?
Thank you very much, Douglas. And of course, thank you very much to all of our viewers and our alumni who are coming up with different suggestions for words for spidergrams. That's definitely a new word that I learned today, spidergram, and very interesting as well. And yeah, just want to say again, warm welcome to those people who joined us a little bit later. So hello to Christy, and to some more people from pretty much joining us from around the world. Very good to see some old faces, so to speak, as well as new people joining. In terms of questions, we actually do have quite a lot of questions that might relate to vocabulary in some way or another when we have people joining our classes. So some of the very frequent questions that we get, and Perrine, tell me if if you, I'm sure that you got this experience with them as well, is that people quite often want to improve their English for a particular purpose, whether that's for work or general life situations, or they're preparing for exam, and therefore they take our courses either in virtual groups or face-to-face classes. So they quite often have this question of, okay, so what can I expect in terms of vocabulary building in classes? Perrine, Douglas, could you say a bit more about this?
I can take that one. So I'd say that vocabulary is a big part of the course, no matter the type of course you choose. The only thing is that you're going to be building a different type of vocabulary, which is good in a way. So if you're choosing a general English course, basically you'll cover many different topics, many different areas related to what you encountered, what you will encounter in your life. So it could be about arts, it could be about culture, it could be about cuisine, it could be about sports, or any topic that is related to everyday life. If you're looking for something which is more related to your work, or just about, doing regular business, then business English is going to help you build words that you would use when you're working, such as typical words when you're writing emails, the way you present, the way you conduct a presentation, or the way, for example, that Olga is then acting as a host. You will learn all types of words that will be very helpful in that sense. And if you have a very specific type of job, then we can do English for specialized areas, for specific purposes. So just tell us what you want to do. We always have a personal needs assessment before you even start your training. So basically, we will ask you questions about what your needs are when you use English, and then based on your answers, our trainers, such as Douglas, will then create your course based on the answers you give us. And the vocabulary building part will be part and parcel of your training. Am I correct, Douglas?
Yeah, that's exactly it. So on day one, we do a needs analysis where our learners, our clients, come up with ideas for the course, the sort of areas they would like to talk about, the kind of vocabulary they would like to cover during the course. And then based on that, we prepare lessons and we choose material that kind of reflects that need, our client's need. So and when we do that systematically every time we start a new course, and that's how we cater for their needs.
Yeah, so, great. And what do you hear people say at the end of the courses after compared to what they said to you at the very beginning, in terms of their vocabulary, in terms of their confidence in using English, both in spoken English and written English, etc.?
So,
well, yeah. Sorry, Perrine, because I don't often get to talk to them once they leave us. But Perrine might be able to answer that one.
So basically, just like we do a pre-course questionnaire, which is the needs analysis, we also ask for feedback at the end of the course. And while we always welcome feedback during the course, obviously we like to reflect on how the process has been for our participants. And usually what I hear from our returners is that they feel more comfortable using English, because it's usually, as you were rightfully saying, Douglas, there's always passive knowledge, and then the ability to then use English in an active way. And what people usually find is that they feel more comfortable than activating their English and using the vocabulary they've learned, and they didn't know when to use it correctly. As we were saying, it's sometimes very challenging to be using a new language when there are things at stake, when you want to make a good impression, so you don't want to use a wrong word. Yeah, exactly. Or you're meeting a new colleague or a client, and you're thinking, oh, I'd like to use that word. I'm not sure if I'm going to be, using it properly. And basically, when you're in a class environment, there's nothing at stake. We're here to support you, and people feel much more comfortable than trying new words, trying new expressions, making mistakes, learning from those mistakes. So it's actually feeling more comfortable, feeling empowered. As they're coming back to us. And I feel it's very, as a learner myself, it's something that our trainers are very good at doing, making you feel very comfortable, making you feel like you're safe to learn, as Douglas was rightfully saying. And that's what usually people tell us when they're coming back. And I think we have a few returners here in the chat room, so feel free to share with us as well your experience and your questions, because obviously we'd like to hear back and make sure that we're always helping you, focus on the vocabulary building techniques that you would want, because we shared some tips with you, but you may have some tips that you would like to share with your fellow attendees. So yeah, feel free to tell us.
Great. Yeah. So it's almost like a bridge that connects them from the situation where they feel a bit uncomfortable or quite uncomfortable using their English to this where they feel they can easily use this at work and in general situation. And this is kind of that bridge which also gives them the opportunity to use their English with classmates from around the world and also be supported by expert trainers, right, Douglas?
Yeah. That bridge is the classroom. So that's where we in the classroom, we create this safe environment where learners, our clients can feel safe to take risks. And so, whereas they'll be a bit intimidated in a meeting, say, for example, to use new vocabulary or to use a new expression that they're not so sure of. In the classroom is where they go, okay, no, here it's okay to try, and here it's okay to because there is this sense, this environment of trust, and it's a safe environment. It's the right place, to make these mistakes and grow from there.
Yeah, fantastic.
So,
yeah, and we only have just about 5 minutes for a few questions. So what we'll try to do is a bit of a blitz of questions. So some questions and short answers from both of you if you want to share your opinion on those questions. One of the questions that we often ask is, how fast can I learn English and increase my vocabulary? What would you say to that?
Yeah, that's a classic that we get that. I get that all the time. Well, yeah. So people are very eager to learn. They want it to be done just like that. They want to learn fast, and I completely understand the need, the wish, to learn fast, the desire to improve and learn fast. But it's important to have realistic goals and to understand that you're not going to go from one level to the next in overnight. This sort of thing doesn't happen quite like that. But there is a lot you can do in a week. You can improve fluency. You can improve your vocabulary. You can improve grammar, and so many other things in a short amount of time. But it's important to know, it's important to understand that language acquisition is something that requires effort and time. So So yeah, that's a tricky one. That question. How fast is fast? You know. So in terms of acquiring a new language, a year would be very fast. But so yeah, you know, it depends on how you perceive time, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's difficult, and different for everyone. Perrine, do you have anything else to add to this?
Well, I'd say that the more pressure you put on yourself, and the less likely you make progress, because it's just imagine that you're practicing a new sport. If someone tells you, oh, you have to, you're just like, okay, I'll take my bike, because everyone now is asked to go biking, to cycle everywhere. If you were to say, okay, I'll cycle to and back from work every day, as soon as I go back to work, is that really likely to happen? You shouldn't just chunk it, you know, take it bit by bit to make this progress possible. So that's the same with language. You can't pitch yourself too high. You can't think, okay, I'll do that immediately. Just you know, find a way to learn every day a little bit, maybe 2 or 3 words a day, which is already a lot, and make sure that you're using them regularly. So I think you just make sure you have goals that are achievable. Otherwise, you're just putting yourself in a position where you're going to be very disappointed. But if you set yourself, you know, very achievable goals at the end of the month, I just want to make I want to be able to introduce myself in English, or at the end of the month, I like to be able to write an article. Okay, just try a little bit every day, and then you'll be closer to your goal as you practice every day. So I think this makes it less daunting, especially when you don't have much time to do this and not enough practice. And also, I think the good thing is you can always make sure that you have constant training. And the good thing with our technology now, as Douglas was saying, embrace technology. We're able to arrange virtual training with an expert trainer such as Douglas, so that you're not all by yourself. You have, someone who's here to support you, to coach you, make sure that you're keeping on track, that you're making progress. So maybe you can't do a private course every week, but maybe every 2 weeks, every month. Make sure you keep regular practice, and that someone can give you an expert and honest feedback about your progress in English.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you both. This is a really good advice in terms of increasing vocabulary, but at the same time enjoying it, as Douglas mentioned throughout the live stream. And we need to really wrap up, but I just want to say thanks a lot for the comments, and just to some clarification questions. First of all, Douglas, in terms of we had a question from a user, from a viewer who asked, where can I get some free books in English that I can use to expand my vocabulary? Let me just have a look at this.
Free books?
Yeah, where can I find these books for free? I think that was the question, if I remember correctly. But I guess the books that you mentioned, these are really probably the books that people.
Oh, the books I mentioned.
Yes.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I don't. A library probably, but you know. Yeah. For free, definitely. A library definitely, but but I don't think they'll.
Library, or you can have if you have an app for an e-reader, you can actually download books for free. Maybe not the books that Douglas mentioned, but I strongly recommend you download an e-reader, so it can be from one of the major bookstores that you can find. But you also have free e-readers, and then you can download books.
That is true, actually.
From Project Gutenberg, or there are some classics that you can find for free. And if you're cheap like me, you can find really good books, and you can find from many different providers, and they're all for free, and it's very good for learning. So I strongly recommend you do that.
Yeah, fantastic.
That is true, actually. Yeah.
And another question, even though we're wrapping up, Juicebudge mentioned the question about repeat, Douglas, can you name the app?
So one of them, sorry, yeah. So one of them is Anki. So ANKI, I think, is one of them, and the other one was Sounds Right. Exactly how it's said, Sounds Right, and this one focuses more on pronunciation.
Yeah, and then of course we also have London School Online, which offers a lot of vocabulary as part of general business, legal English, even English for hospitality. So there's a wide range of courses over there. So you can try it for free and see if you find it useful, and then contact us if you'd like to either self-study or if you want to join either our virtual classes with international classmates and expert English, or once we have our face-to-face classes open again, then you can join us there as well. So thank you very much again for to everyone and to all of your comments. I can see that Tanya, one of our very frequent participants, thank you, Tanya.
Thanks, Tanya.
How you feel about yourself is what often determines how you learn English. So that's definitely a great comment. And of course, Douglas, Corinne, if you'd like to say a few words before we wrap up.
Well, I know, it's a very long learning journey to become fluent, but basically every day you practice is getting you closer to your goal. So have heart. It's going to be tough, but it's really worth it. And always read and listen to things that you like, because the more you enjoy it, then the easier it will be.
Exactly. Thank you very much, guys, for joining us. And if you've enjoyed this live stream, please check out our other videos. And I hope to see you again next time.
Yeah, and in fact, we do have live streams next week. One of them would be for those of you who have trouble understanding native English speakers. For example, either because the speech is too fast or because there's a particular accent and the way that they pronounce words. So join us at 5:30 on Tuesday. It will be Douglas who will be showing you how to actually deal with this and feel completely comfortable about understanding English. And then on Thursday, we have another live stream. This time is for business English. And that's to help you with very useful and practical expressions for your negotiations in business English. So at work, with your partners, with your clients. So that would be very useful for a lot of our alumni and also new viewers, of course. So thank you very much, and stay safe, stay well, and keep learning English.
See you guys. See you soon.
Bye.
See you soon.